Today on the Ever Onward podcast, we have Carolyn Holly. Carolyn is an unbelievable icon, legend, amazing person here in the Valley. Everyone knows her already. She had a 33-year career at KTVB as their number one anchor. She is also the current Vice President of Development of Idaho Business for Education. She served on every single board there is. She's an incredible human, mother, and leader in the community. You can't wait to catch up with her. Carolyn Holly. Brian McMartin, thanks for coming by, man.
Of course.
Give a little update on our Teens to Trades Inspire Excellence Board.
Yeah.
Brian is the chairman of the board of for our Inspire Excellence / Teens to Trades nonprofit. And man, I just got to tell you, thanks. You never stop. Like, it's been great. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, it's so exciting. It's so neat to see 5 years. We celebrated 5 years at our Inspire Excellence Awards, and to take some time to look back was really cool. To have some of past winners come, to have Teens to Trades growing, to have these incredible events, the golf tournament, second year. It's just huge. It's got great momentum, incredible people surrounding it.
It does have great momentum, but the momentum went like this, and then you became chair. And it's like, boom. So thank you. It was cool. You just mentioned it, but Sherry with Brown Like Me was a winner several years ago, and she was there. It was really cool. 4 generations at her table. Yeah. So it was her mother, her daughter, and her granddaughter.
Yeah.
And but she talked about the impact that recognition meant to her, and it was just incredible to hear her story. So why don't you give us a little update for next year, because we're already taking nominations for Inspire Excellence Awards. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that, and then just our golf tournament, which has been a phenomenal success.
It's huge.
Thanks to you, Mark Johnson, the whole team. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. For those that don't know, Inspire Excellence Awards just had our 5th one. We had more awards handed out, and had that fraternity starting to build of those award winners. So it's incredible. I mean, that award is just the most inspiring day of the year for me. I mean, it's really special. So that will be coming up again next year. We're finalizing a date. It'll be most likely winter of 26. So keep an eye out for that. But then, September 8th is our golf tournament at the River Club. And so that's the can't miss golf tournament. I think it's just so cool to see the community support, and then to have the back-to-back years, like, get the momentum, have people look forward to it. I mean, there's a wait list already, so definitely, reach out to us. I know a lot of people know how to get in touch with us, but visit our website or follow us on Instagram for sure. The Teens, the number 2 Trades. Follow us. You can keep updated on all the stuff we have.
And then as far as nominations, it's anyone in the community that inspires, uplifts, or serves. Yep. We look for unsung heroes. Year 5, 8 to 9 winners every year. We highlight them. We do a video on their story that then they can use that video for them. And then it's just incredible. Like, there was, honestly, you say it's the best day of the year, but I honestly walk away from there thinking, I got to do more. Yeah. Because you hear these incredible stories of these people that live their lives serving and taking care of others and lifting them up. And it's just cool to watch them get recognized where otherwise they wouldn't. Yeah. And, man, it gets goosebumps and tears all at the same time, man.
I was going to say, be careful. Put it on your calendar. Come visit, but have the rest of the day planned for some ideation on how to make an impact. Because, like you said, we focus on everything from your everyday teacher to just a volunteer, to people running organizations, to Dan Nelson from Mission 43. All those stories, I mean, seeing them in one place and seeing them inspired by each other too, and just the special community we have. Inspire Excellence is something that's really impactful. And now with the Teens to Trades receiving that money, and this is the first year we have scholarship recipients too, so we're going to start telling that story. So if you're not a part of Teens to Trades and Inspire Excellence, please join us. It's pretty special.
I love it. Thanks for all you do, brother. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
You're so awesome. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. How have you been?
Never out of sight, though.
I know. Well, you're doing the news again.
I love it. Thank you for saying that, because it's such an honor.
I've told you this before, though, but like everyone that knows you and loves you, it's years of you're in our living room and just part of our lives. And then it's kind of sad when you retire from that part of your life. So it's awesome to have you back.
Thank you.
You're doing weekends.
It fills my soul. I just fill in when they need me now, but I did fill in for 8 months straight on weekends.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. We love it. Do you still like it?
Like I said, it absolutely fills my soul. I think I was put on this earth to be a TV journalist.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at the world. And so when I get this opportunity to do it on my own time, to do it the way that I want to do it, not every night at 10 o'clock like I did for 30-something years.
Was it that long?
Oh, yes. Yeah. That was a lot of time to be away from my family.
Well, and it's fascinating to talk to you about, because it was the way you do it, because you do it a little like Maggie did it, right? It was actually pretty good for being a mom.
Oh, it was wonderful hours.
Because you didn't sleep.
No, but I didn't need sleep.
So I have no
then.
idea how you didn't age, because my line I always used was sleep's overrated, right? Because I did night shifts in the ER. But now I've got all these heart problems, and I'm like,
you love your sleep.
It's starting.
Sleep is important.
It's starting to. I'm paying the price now. But how did you do it? Go back.
I did it because I had a great partner, my husband.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody could really work in television journalism without a great partner. And so David picked up when I wasn't there, but I was there a lot. It was really important to us that the boys had a hot breakfast every day before they left for school. So I got up at 5:45 every day, loved it though, and made
walk us through your schedule. You've told me this before, but like, we're going to dig into Carolyn today. So you would get up, breakfast.
Yeah, so let's go back to the evening. I wouldn't get home till about probably 11:15, 11:30 at night. Went straight to bed because I was tired. I mean, I have the ability to go right to sleep if I'm tired.
Still today?
Yes, unfortunately. It's getting earlier and earlier all the time that I go to sleep. But yes, it was really important. My husband grew up in a ranching community, and so he had a hot breakfast every day. And that was a way that I could be with my boys in the morning before they went to school. And so it was eggs and bacon and potatoes. And you know what? To this day, and they're all grown up, you know them, is they still eat breakfast every day.
I love it.
I know it.
And so then breakfast happened in the morning.
Yeah.
And then
you
got them to school.
I got them to school.
So for them, you're with them. And then they would go to school. Would you nap, or you're off? You're
Gosh,
doing
back
your deal.
in that day, I was a gym rat. I loved working out, and not like heavy weights or anything, but spin and swim and things that I felt were really important if you were on the air to keep in shape.
Well, that's probably why you stayed so healthy too. Then, so
I wish
you paid
that
attention to your health.
I did. I very much, and mental health.
Yeah.
As well, because when you work out, it's not just for the physical part; it's for the mental. So, I'd hit the gym, and then I would come home, and I did something very unique, and the station allowed me to do this. I worked a split shift. So I would go in about 11 o'clock and prep for their news at noon. And we had an hour-long newscast at noon and a lot of interviews. It was just an awesome opportunity. And so I'd come in and do that show. Then I would get home by the time they were getting out of school.
Wow.
I mean, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I'd be home. I'd make dinner. I was the place that all the kids in the neighborhood could come because I was home. Their moms and dads weren't necessarily home. And then they usually were in sports. So then my husband would take over because he coached when they were young, most of their sports. And so then they'd take off. And then if there wasn't a game, I would go back to work at that time and prep for the 10 o'clock show. So it really worked out. But there were times, Tommy, when they had games and I was at the fields in 100-degree heat till like 9:45.
And you're rushing
I
in.
am rushing back, and I had this big hat on because, I had to protect my skin and my face and everything. And I'd take off this hat, and I'd just fluff up my hair, and I'd get on the show and do it with Mark.
So big-time baseball players.
Yes, we love baseball in our family.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a long time ago.
College ball, right?
Yeah, they both played college ball. Mm-hmm. Until they graduated. And then their bodies were pretty broken down. They never, they had the heart, the soul, the talent to go on. No, Kevin is the one that you know.
Yeah, Kevin's back here. And the other one's is ranching.
Yes, he is. He owns a ranch in Montana, Hamilton, Montana. And he just loves living off the land. And he has a beautiful wife and 2 kids who he has no television set. These kids spend their time in the summers. They're jumping on their horses bareback. His wife, Jen, has a garden that's the size of a football field. She's got chickens. I mean, they're living very holistic, and I love seeing that.
They got to figure it out.
Yeah, I'd like every child to grow up that way.
You mentioned Mark.
Yeah.
You guys were together for a long time.
TV husband.
When I first got here, he was the sports guy. Mm-hmm. That's how long ago. And then he became the guy.
I remember the changeover.
Yeah.
And he's so talented.
Yeah.
He could do it all. I mean, he probably did weather for us at some time too. I don't know.
He is a unique guy. We're lucky that he's on our Inspire Excellence board. So I get to see him a lot, and then he puts on that golf tournament, which is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And he's a great friend and just a authentic guy.
Yeah, I called him my Energizer Bunny because there were times that it was tough to come back for the 10, especially when the kids grew older. They weren't around. I didn't have their sports. I didn't have that time taken up between these shows. All I had to do was go back to the newsroom, and there was my Energizer Bunny co-anchor, Mark, and wind him up, and here we go. He just lights up a place. And I wanted to tell you what a good friend he is. One time, I got sick, had to have a surgery, and it all happened within days. And Marcus was the first person at my door with, he had candy bars and magazines and just wanted to be there. And that's all. Knocked on the door, left the gift, and left.
Don't you think the older you get, the more like authentic, true, there when you need them friends, those relationships are just, it's what life is about, I think.
I think they're the people that you want to invest in.
Yeah.
You want to invest your time. You want to invest your love.
Yeah.
You want to, I love where I'm at in my life right now. I've kind of figured it out. It's taken me a while because I've had this wonderful life in Boise, Idaho. And at this point, I believe I'm a connector and collaborator.
Yeah.
I've gotten a chance to meet enough super cool, super talented, super passionate people, and I love putting them together.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump all over
okay.
today. But let's talk about where you currently are, because I do believe you've settled at something that's just perfect for you right now.
Full circle.
So let's talk about what you're doing.
Full circle. I am the Vice President of Development for Idaho Business for Education, and I know you know about us.
And Rod just retired.
He just retired. Paula Keller.
I know that because his retirement thing was the same night we were doing something, and Andy couldn't come to our thing, and so he called because Andy hosted it, right?
Yes, yeah. Andy Scoggin, who's the chair of our board, wonderful. Again, another great human being.
Yeah,
get to be around him. Yes, Rod deserves so much to retire, and Tommy, I don't know if you know, it was full circle for Rod and I. He was my news director.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was my news director in like the late 80s, early 90s at Channel 7 when I became a mother.
I didn't know this.
Which I say that because he was the perfect boss for that time in your life when you're like, oh, I love being a mother. I love my babies, but I love my career. Yeah. So how am I going to do it all?
Kind of unique back then too.
They didn't even have a policy for maternity leave when I had my first son.
Yeah.
So we broke ground. I had Colby, Dee had Bree. I had Kevin, and then she had her youngest. So like 4 right
so you're bringing up Dee Sarton.
Oh, I love her. TV sister.
I mean, you guys, between you, Mark, and Dee, it was like, and then Doug.
Yes.
Armstrong,
our general
manager for years. And you think of the legacy, it's a big word, but it's true. It's legacy stuff that happened and you think about think of the Boise back then and our community back then, and your fingerprints were everywhere.
Kevin, my son, calls it the golden years of television, Mom. Yeah. And I laugh because they used to call like film the golden years, But yes, we all stayed here because we wanted to raise our families there. Yeah. We put our roots deep into this community. And you saw that with the things that we love to do even outside of the station. Yeah. It was important to us. We had, and we didn't even know it at the time, we had such a golden opportunity to be on the front lines of all those changes. And our responsibility was to tell our viewers about it all the time.
Well, and you didn't ever stop giving. Like this is your work life, right? So we'd see you on TV all the time because it was the goal. I mean, it was pre-streaming. It was pre-phone. It was
pre-Facebook.
It was like, you call it your work family, but it was like extension of our families, right? It's like where you went. It was every morning, every night. And I think media's changed. The quantity, the options for people, it's just evolved into something that's different. But I think also times change too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at just turnover and I mean,
and you know, you mentioned that I get to come back and fill in, and I'm also their consultant.
Oh, you are?
Which is a beautiful thing for Channel 7 because now I'm a consumer of their product every day, so I can watch it. And what I love, Tommy, because I love coaching and I love sharing my life with people and my experiences, is I get to coach some of these newcomers that you see. And what I tell everybody is, guess what? Mark, Dee, and Carolyn were newcomers at one time too. Y'all just don't remember it. But we came in right out of college. You know, I'll never forget. December 5th of 1982 was the first time I walked through those doors at Channel 7. Weekend anchor, we had a 15-minute show on Sundays. That was it. And I thought it was the most important thing in the world.
Wow.
That's when I talk about having a great partner, because David was by my side and he's like, well, honey, it's okay. You report the news. But you know what he used to say to me too? But what's great is you are not the news. Yeah. And think about it back then. We weren't the news, but social media has developed a lot of TV into TV personalities.
It's insane right now.
Well, but you know what? When I first retired from Channel 7, somebody gave me a great quote that said, don't be afraid of changing. Don't be afraid of change. Be afraid of not changing. Yeah. And that's how we have to look at the media too. Is it's going to change. Yeah. The legacy on 5407 Fairview, our studios will always be there. That's our legacy. Yeah. But now you can catch us everywhere else, just like you're doing here. The podcast. I'm envious of you, Tommy, in a healthy way that you get to do this. This is where it's going.
I love it. We've been doing it a long time. This is our 5th year. And initially when we started it, it was after the campaign. Mm-hmm. And the impetus of it was, hey, there are great stories out there, great people, there are great Idahoans that let's go tell their stories, let's go listen to them, and it's still part of it, right? And just being able to talk, and I think it's the following now is really a lot of business people love Idaho, people love hearing people's stories and being inspired by them. It's still the same thing,
and I can see in your eyes that how much you get out of it.
It's cool.
It's awesome. It's I mean,
I
get
to catch up with you, and I get to turn the tables and ask you all these questions.
Well, because I don't know if you saw, I put it on LinkedIn. It's like, what would you like me to ask?
And you
Tommy
saw what I said. That's not the gig here. Okay, let's go back. Okay. Let's go back to Idaho Business for Education.
Oh yes.
So a organization's been around for
about 17 years.
17 years.
And we were founded by the likes of Mr. Skip Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Ed Dahlberg, CEO of St. Luke's. Mike Mooney. I mean, these.
Those are some legends.
Legends who said at the time, there is no business voice for education in this state. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And that's how they created Idaho Business for Education.
Can I tell an Ed Dahlberg story?
I'd love it because I love that gentleman.
Mike Mooney was the first guy I met when I came to town with Debbie. So I walked in, imagine this, I walked into Key Bank. I just get here, like barely got here, and I walk upstairs, and it was Debbie Cleverly, Mike Mooney, and Joel Hickman.
That's awesome.
That's the first room I walk into. It's crazy. And I love him, and I could tell a lot of stories about him. But Ed Dahlberg, every once in a while I'm asked how medicine has changed. And back then, the old ER at St. Luke's, so it's before the new ER, and there was one hallway, and there was a series of maybe 6 rooms on each side. Ed Dahlberg was the CEO of the hospital, I would do all night shifts. And I cannot tell you how many times that man would walk down the ER. Just think of the CEO walking down the thing and sitting down by me, a brand new doc out of residency, and getting to know me and my family.
What'd that tell you about him?
Think about how
I know.
it almost
That's a
sounds
great
crazy.
leader.
It almost sounds crazy now. And he would sit there and he would talk, and then every time I saw him, I thought he was my best friend. And he was just this, and he cared about patients and how are things going. And it was he and Gary Fletcher.
Oh yeah, I remember Gary.
You remember Gary?
VP, was he a VP? Wasn't he?
Yeah, oh yeah, right under, and they were kind
right
of
under Ed.
They did it a long time, and that intimacy with like who you worked for in the hospital and how you wanted to be part of something that took care of people, and it just was amazing. And I think back to him. I don't stay in contact with Ed, but he had a profound impact on me because he was so community minded. Like this, you think of him and Skip and Mike coming together and saying, "Hey, we got to do something for education." 17 years ago. There's a legacy of those sort of meetings and community leaders here that's just incredible.
And Tommy, they're still doing it.
Yeah.
That's the incredible thing. I mean, they're retired, not Skip, obviously.
Yeah.
Skip, I don't think Skip will ever retire. I've
seen Skip a couple times in the last couple of weeks. He's like Carolyn. Well, I want to drink and eat what you guys are eating. He doesn't look a day older, and he's still got the same energy.
Yeah. How lucky was I? He was my first mentor when I moved to Boise, Idaho. How did I get hooked up that way with a gentleman like him?
Yeah.
And again, cares about his community. I just want to say one thing about Ed Dahlberg, if I understand it right. And you tell me, because you worked for him. I reported on him because I was the health reporter, so I got to interact with Ed a lot. But wasn't he the architect of what St. Luke's is today?
Absolutely.
I mean, that they decided to stretch out. McCall, Twin Falls, Wood River Valley.
When I first got here, there was the old downtown hospital that we all remember well. And then there was this little urgent care out here in Meridian. And that's what it was. It was an urgent care in Meridian and the downtown hospital. And then I was with him and Gary the whole time the Meridian Hospital came out. And then there was this decision of, hey, we're going to become a regional system as a community hospital. It's an incredible story. And I just don't think it would have been I believe people follow people. I do. Mm-hmm. People follow people, and they follow people that are genuine and authentic and care. They're just. I want to go where you want to go, and I remember going to those meetings because he would pull the physicians in, and he knew them all, and he knew their families. He cared about them. He cared about the community, and he didn't even it's like that old adage, right? Lead always, speak when needed. That was him. You just knew he cared about everything, and what a great guy. I'm so glad we talked about him today.
Yeah, no, just the foresight of knowing what this valley needed at that time. But I can tell you, he's still the same authentic
Do you still see him?
man. Oh yes, in fact, I think it was my second week at Idaho Business for Education, and he walks into my office. And I'm like, Ed, I haven't seen you forever. Yeah, he spends a lot of time in Arizona now, but he had his puffy ski coat on, and he still loves it up here as well. Anyway, I'm glad we talked about him.
So go back.
Idaho Business for Education.
We're going to go back.
Well, you know what's really great is our mission continues to pivot with the times. Yeah. And so we are a nonprofit of nearly 250 businesses statewide, from Sandpoint to Soda Springs and all points in between to the east and everywhere else in Idaho, who work to strengthen education and also provide pathways for our youth so that we can set them up for success in school, work, and life. But what we are also doing is we're building a skilled workforce for Idaho employers. And so that's why these business leaders are so passionate about that as well. And when I say we pivot, we really have. I mean, we had the first federal registered apprenticeships ever in Idaho. We have done over 400, and I know what you're doing for teens and trades. Yeah. It's where it's going.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about education. Can we do that? Mm-hmm. So Idaho, it's interesting because if you went back 25 years that I've been kind of around, like, what are we going to do and how are we going to keep our kids here? It's been interesting because we've had this transition from a lot of our kids would leave And then
Definitely.
a lot of our kids, so you had kids that would just, stay and work in the family business or farms or ranches or whatever. And then you had kids that would go to college, sometimes here, sometimes away. But then they would say, where's our opportunities here? And the whole idea was, how do we attract and keep talent here? And then we've had this boom where we got discovered, right?
And we need them.
And now we need them
We need
here.
that workforce.
And it's
that
been incredible.
Skilled workforce.
And now there's just so many opportunities for them. And so I do think that like education has, I think we've done a great job. There's been some transformative leaders in education that have been kind of slow and steady and here the whole time. But I think we're doing a really good job, don't you?
I think we need to keep working on it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is we need to let our youth understand, first of all, we care about you. We care about you getting the skills to earn a livable wage.
Yeah.
That's one thing, because as you know, now our apprenticeships, there's over 1,500 of them. So they are the traditional ones, but I love that you can get one in marketing.
Yeah.
You can, the only one we couldn't fulfill was somebody wanted to be a tattoo artist. We had no sponsor for that. So we couldn't get them that. But I love the fact that we are providing you, your organization, our organization, providing them the opportunities to figure out what their passion is and then go for it. Because you know what? You can make a really good wage and our employers need you. Right now, that's what I hear from every one of our members. They're still trying to get employees, quality employees. Tommy, we need our kids to stay in Idaho. We need them.
So I want to talk about a couple of things.
Okay.
And we didn't prep for any of this. So this is just, so how important has launch been?
Oh my goodness.
Because to me, that was just, and let's go back one step. There was this go on goal that drove me nuts.
Because not everyone was going to go on to
college.
Yes,
and it was the dumbest thing because I think it was so well intended.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go back to the intention and the program and everything, it was like go on. It was 60% by 2020 or something. I can't remember the exact date. But if you talk to kids about that back then, and this is like 15 years ago, they would feel like failures if they didn't go on to college. So somehow, some way, it got stuck with I'm going on to college. This time, Launch got it right.
Most definitely. I think it's Governor Little's legacy.
His legacy.
But we've got to support him.
I know, because they're going to try to attack the funding of this, right?
It's got to get funded every year.
It's got to get funded every year. But you look at the success of it in just the number one year, it's got applicants through the roof, and it's these kids, and they understand that it's not just go on to college, it's going on to a career path that gives them a livable wage in Idaho and connects them to a business that's at need. And that messaging has been so spot on and so successful and so wonderful that we're providing our youth this connection, line of sight, and then connection to jobs in Idaho. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Well,
we got to keep supporting it, right?
It makes so much sense. Think about it. You're supplying, again, that skilled worker for in-demand jobs in our state where we can't build like you want to build without getting, we can't care for patients if we don't have the healthcare workers. Go on and on of what we need. And what is great for the students is that there's always been a barrier of finances. Yeah. For you to go on whatever you want to do, and how they were able to combine. It makes sense.
It makes sense. So for anyone listening today, pay attention, because in this legislative session and every legislative session, the way it works is it still requires funding from the legislature. It's been a tremendous success, but I think it's going to have its challenges again this year because, the counter arguments, I don't even want to give it too much thought on this topic because it doesn't make sense.
Then.
I know.
No, I told myself I wouldn't get on here talking too much about politics, but the launch program makes so much sense to me. And we need to let all the parents know, if you have a graduating senior, make sure that you get them signed up for this if they're going onto an on-demand career type schooling. So love it.
What are some of the other programs that you're...
Oh my goodness, we have...
I know your apprenticeship program's huge.
It's huge, and that's wonderful.
I know it ties right in with Launch.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all about the same thing, which is how do we keep our kids here and how do we keep them need.
Right.
needed
And so what
jobs.
we really need is more businesses to be sponsors of that.
How do people do that?
Well,
hey, can we pull up her website?
Yeah.
We're really good. So this is on YouTube too, right?
This is so
I'm getting
cool.
better with Maddie. You know my son-in-law.
Yes,
right?
I do. I know Matt from many times that we've worked together out in the public. Go to our website, which is idahobe.org.
idahobe.org.
Yeah, Idaho, B as in business, E as in education.org. And you can find out more about that. Tommy, we also have the STEM ecosystem that we've taken on through Idaho Business for Education, because we know how important STEM is, again, to our workforce, to our youth, to figure that out. You can see some of the different things that we do right there. We just do so much.
What's the story behind the STEMs? Because didn't they take some pilot programs that were super successful in Idaho, and you guys kind of brought them under your umbrella and made
We've
them more
had them
successful?
for about 2 years
Yeah.
now. I'm not sure the background on that,
Okay.
but we were asked to take them. You know why people love Idaho Business for Education? Because it's the only business voice for education in the state.
I love it.
I flew out to Florida a couple of years ago, met with 400 business leaders in Lakeland, Florida, because they said, how are you guys doing this in Idaho? We want to create something like this. What are we supposed to do? And I basically told them the truth. You got to have some champions.
Those Lakeland guys were pretty proactive, aren't they?
Did you meet them when they came
heck yeah.
here? That's when I met them
It was
too.
blowing me away that they
Yeah.
just like, hey, well, isn't it interesting though? They picked Boise and the Treasure Valley out of like the country. It was one or two places of, hey, we want our community to be like their community.
Right.
It's pretty cool. Anyway,
And we don't need to talk. I
so you
checked
went out
in when
there.
they had the last hurricane, and they're doing okay there. But yeah, I went out there because their educators, their business community wanted to get this going, wanted to get something like Idaho Business for Education.
So, and then your apprenticeship program. How do you get to that and get
Okay,
connected?
well, there's probably like a little tab somewhere, isn't there, Matt? And then you can find out more. And then I'll tell you what, here is my email. Holly, CHOLLY @idahobe.org.
Because what you do is connect businesses with these programs, with the apprenticeship, with the whole
Right.
thing. We're trying to get the membership up because all of this goes back to a thriving ecosystem that keeps Idaho kids plugged into Idaho
Right.
companies.
And when you create an apprenticeship, and it can be a job you already have, maybe there's somebody within your workforce that you want to build them up, you want to get them certified in something, or if you hire one, the retention rate is something like 87% that they'll stay with you. And you know what it costs when people are leaving
It's
for 50 cents down the street.
It's recruitment and retention.
It is. So, yeah, we would love to do that. And there's a whole staff that works with you, that works right with, if it's your HR department or whatever. And like I said, we put at least 420 apprenticeships together already in the state. So there's a lot of great stories about it.
Before we get off this, I want to spend a lot of time on this. I have I got a whole list here. So, but I want to go back to this. So there's your website. Go
Yes.
on their apprenticeship program, STEM, become a member. You're the connection. You just gave out your email.
I
love
did. I would love to talk to any business out there that would like to learn more about our mission. We are not a networking group. I say it right from the beginning. We are on a mission to strengthen education, provide pathways for our youth. We've got to set them up for success. And in the meantime, guess what we're doing? We're building a skilled workforce for Idaho employers.
It's fantastic. How tied in are you to Micron and their needs and what's going on with
Yeah,
them?
we're very tied in, again, with apprenticeships, and we love what they're doing with CWI. And I mean, it is the biggest thing that's probably happened to us since HP decided to come here back in the 70s.
Oh man, I think of there's a lot of unknowns because we've had this explosive growth. We've got changing things. We got the political climate. It's just all this other stuff going on. But if you get to that next layer of fundamentals of where we are as a community, as a state, as our families, as our kids, and this next generation, we've got some really good things going on.
We are so fortunate.
We are so blessed to be here.
And these are good jobs
Yeah.
that will eventually be created. But while they're building it, those are awesome. You get paid very well out there if you're on those crews, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness, yeah.
So these are good jobs that are being created in our valley.
And then plus the 250 companies that are going to come to support the fab. I mean, we're just on the leading edge of that. So I'm really glad. And at the time when Gordon Jones is leading CWI.
Perfect. Perfect fit. What do you think as a developer here? Do you think we can handle all this, Tommy?
Yeah, I do. I think we've got to be smart. I mean, a couple of things I would say is you're clipping along and you've got all these master plans and you're saying, hey, how are we going to grow as a city and as a community? And you've got Meridian doing their thing and Nampa doing their thing, Caldwell doing their thing, right? And then you got Boise. And then on the very eastern part of the valley, you stick a $15 billion fab, right? And you've got all the other stuff going on that's already exciting everywhere else. I think it just sets you up for the question of what ultimately are the transportation needs of the valley. And we know that we are already horrifically behind in public transportation, horrifically behind. I think you had this magical thing happen. You had Elaine Clegg say, I'm not going to retire from city council after 20 whatever years. I'm going to take my talents and my life's work and I'm going to go become the director of VRT. And I'm going to try to help figure out public transportation. That is a miracle. And we ought to, I don't know what that window looks like, but while she's there, we ought to support her and help her with public transportation.
Oh, we definitely have to. I grew up in a city where I saw the evolution of public transportation.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer. And you
but
can't,
you got to have champions.
You got to have champions. And so you got her. I think you've got another really cool thing that people aren't talking about right now. You've got Ryan Head, who's the new director of ACHD.
Okay.
So Ada County Highway District, and they're critical to our roads and infrastructure. You have ITD, and I think everyone's getting along for the first time in a long time. In fact, I was in a meeting at Boise City last week, and Ryan Head was actually there, which is like, if you ever told me that ACHD would be the city of Boise, it's a critical thing. And then we got to figure out bigger things. Like, okay, is there an alternate routes, or are there ways to get people onto different places? I think that's big. And then rail. I think it's huge, and we've got the rail, but I don't know all the backstory to that. Yeah.
But so you see us at a point that we need to do something.
Oh yeah.
With
like if we don't
transit, public transportation, moving people around.
If we don't have a really robust plan that's driven by business and working, harmonizing perfectly with our local and state leaders, then we're going to find ourselves where you're like, oh my gosh. And we're like, well, then we should have saw it coming, right? So I think transportation will be our number one thing.
Well, let's get rid of the turf wars then. It's time
we're doing some
to
good
work
things.
Together. Good.
Garrett Lofto is doing some great things. Garrett,
Simplot, yeah.
He's doing some great things. And we're trying to be helpful. We're trying to be helpful.
You've always been interested in transportation.
Yeah.
If I remember.
No, I think it's always been like infrastructure, transportation. So I think we'll be able to do it. And I think we have we have a lot of great leaders right now in the Valley. If you think about Mayor Simison and Mayor Kling, out in Caldwell and Mayor McLean, I think we've got people working together. They're trying to act in a coordinated way. CUNA.
Right. Oh yeah. So let our community know what we can do for you. That's as many champions as you can get on board.
Oh, one other thing. So I do think, like, I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent, but I think if you look at who's leading kind of all of these different things at the same time, I do want to mention Bobby Joe at the chamber.
Perfect.
Holy goodness. Like the fact
Bobby Joe Muehlman.
Yes, she is unbelievable. And so you got Bobby Joe and Elaine and good mayors and good leadership. And it seems like ACHD, it seems like a really good time for people to come together and say, okay, how are we going to help the community? How are we going to help the families? How are we going to keep kids here? How are we going to support all this? I'm excited. And
can I ask just one more question? Are we going to have to get federal funding, though, to get this done?
Yeah.
So we need to get those elected officials
and in
on
order,
it too.
In order to
DC.
get the federal funding, you've got to have like local, you got to have the studies done, and you got to be ready so that you can get those matches, right? And if you miss those windows that come along, you don't get the funding. And so some of it is like local leadership ready to go, studies done, ready to get the funding, and then the matches to do it. And it all kind of has to come together. And I think it's, but I think we're smart enough to do it. I feel really good about it. I'm very optimistic.
This is something that's going to take steps. So
yeah.
I hope there are steps being taken right now to study. Okay. Mass transit.
Oh my God. So let me ask you some other stuff.
Okay.
You are, if I think of Carolyn Holly, I think of community champion probably first. Example, mentor, leader. You have been involved in so many nonprofits over the years. in so many ways. I mean, just support, being the MC, but then you're on so many different boards. Talk about a couple things. If you're someone listening out there right now, talk about the importance of getting on a community board and what that can do for a young professional, for professional development. Let's start there.
Okay.
I'll shut up for a minute.
I am so happy that you asked me that question because I really do get a lot of younger generation people asking me that question. And my number one thing is to say, well, there's two things. Number one, what is your passion? What is it that you are passionate about? Because when you jump into nonprofit and you are lucky enough to serve on a board, you need to put 100% into that. It's not, I think I'll just go to the meetings and then that's all I'm going to do. Our nonprofits are some of the best, I think, in the country. I don't know if there's been studies, but it is incredible what we have for nonprofit volunteer work here.
I actually think there's some data that shows that is actually true.
Yeah, we were built really on the work of nonprofits. Yeah. But if you're going to get involved in nonprofit work, and I want to tell you the good side of it, I want you to figure out what makes you tick.
Yeah.
You know, what is it that you want to do? Because you're not just going to sit in a chair for an hour once a month and try to make a decision. You need to give and give. Give of your resources, give of your talents, give of any way you can give. Connect people to that nonprofit. But the beautiful thing that I've experienced in nonprofit work are, well, two things there too. The incredible relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get to work alongside movers and shakers, that you're not doing it in the workplace. You're doing it outside of that. You're both on the same page. It's amazing what doors open up later on in life.
It's one of those ironies of life as you're talking. First of all, passion has come up several times. You're talking about the very first day you took your job and how you went in the running to just kill it.
Yes.
You found your passion and it's been your life's work. But that's come up a whole bunch. But then the other thing is sometimes in life, and boards are this way, you go in to give, and then when you get done with that experience or in the middle of the experience, you'll sit back someday and go, I am getting back tenfold what I'm putting in. And so it's one of the first things I tell people too, find a passion and then go dive head in, and you're going to sit back and go, oh my goodness, I'm getting, like it's supposed to be the other way around.
Like my endorphins are releasing.
And I was supposed to be the one giving, and instead I'm being richly rewarded in my personal life, my professional development, my relationships, my connections in the community. Yeah. It's not why but if you do it right, you're going in to really make a difference.
Well,
so I look at your list. Faces of Hope.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
St. Al's Foundation, St. Luke's Children's Board, Idaho Youth Sports Commission, Boise School District Foundation, and Funzie. I mean, you've done.
There might be a few more that aren't even on there, but
I'm sure we're even.
But Tommy, here's the thing that I always say too: is we truly, by jumping into this nonprofit work, we do get what we give because we're building a great community. Faces of Hope. When I led that, and you were the first leader of it, and then I got to take over for 7 years before I retired from that. And I always ask this question to our executive director or to our board or whenever a decision had to be made is, are we serving those who need us the most?
Yeah.
Are we making the decision for that? And truly, I don't know where we'd be in this community without Faces. I mean, it's been an awesome organization.
Talk a little bit about it.
You started it with Gene Fisher, didn't you?
It was before Gene's time.
Oh, it was.
It's a long, well, the story behind it is it's very authentic. I'll just tell it. I mean, we got a little time. I just left Tucson, my residency, came to Boise, and it was literally the first month working here night shifts in downtown Boise, and I had 2 young women that came into the ER that were raped. And in Tucson, we would have called the SANE team, and they would have, so the sexual assault nurse examiners, they would have come to the ER. That patient would have been handled by people that were trained to take care of them in their moment of greatest. I can't imagine a more humiliating, sensitive, horrible time than having to go through to be a victim of a sexual assault and then have to go to an ER. Sterile.
Nobody knows
ER,
you.
Nobody knows you.
Yes. And so you need people like these SANE nurses.
Multiple people asking the questions all over again and you reliving this. So down there, that's what happened. And it was these caring, wonderful people that came in. And then as the ER doc, you were very aware of what was going on, but that's what happened. So the first one happened here, and it was 2 young ladies, and so they came in, and I see them pop up on the board. In the old days, we didn't even have computers, right? So you had a board with it written on there, right? And I remember going to my charge nurse and saying, okay, I'm call, and they're like, well, we don't have anything like that. And I said, well, what do you mean you don't have anything like that? They're like, well, we just don't have anything like that. I said, well, what happens? They said, well, the police come, and they go interview the patient first, and then they determine if a sexual assault happened, and then they'll come get you. So I have no reason to second guess. I'm go see patients, and I'm running around, and then I go back and I said, hey, what's going on down there? And they're like, oh, they're not done yet. So then I keep going around, and then finally they come to me and say, oh, you can go in there now. They've determined it wasn't a sexual assault, and they're gone, and you can go see the patient now. And I thought, at first I thought, this is the what? And then I went in and interviewed and took care of them, and they were clearly raped. And I was so pissed because they were gone. And I'm like, this is not freaking right. This is like, and I called the hospital administrator, and I got mad the next day, and I met and the police chief at the time, I won't even tell you who it was, came and met with me. And I got up out of the meeting and I said, you're freaking wrong. And at the time, those kits came out of the budget of the police department, and they were trying to decide, okay, it was so back-assward. It was the craziest thing. And so that's where the passion started. It's like, we've got to figure this out. So initially, I went to 2 of my partners. Stephanie Bodas took the lead. We had 2 female partners, and it needed to be one of them. And she, back in the day, if you think about how this is in the 90s.
Oh, goodness, it wasn't that long ago.
She put together a training video, and she went and got trained. And then 4 of us were on call 24/7.
If anybody that had been sexually assaulted,
and we would come back in, and we just took call. And then we started working with, the very first thing we started doing was, and then there was a couple nurses, and then it grew from there. But anyway, it was definitely a passion, but it was out of need, because sometimes you see something like that and you're like, we've got to do this. So let's flash forward. Ultimately, it ends up going to becoming Faces.
Yes, and so
Faces of Hope, and then it's Faces of Hope. But it really is evolved into what I think is a model for the country. If you have someone that's a victim of sexual assault, they now go to a facility that is not the ER. The patient is put first, and trained people come in from second one and take care of them. And it's just not the physical needs, and that's, which is very important, but it's also the emotional, psychological.
Right.
And
all the follow through that happens, short-term housing, get you out of, and if it's a domestic violence situation.
Yeah.
But Tommy, what I love about this model in our community is you are not charged a dime.
Yeah.
And that's because of our community support. And the more people that hear about it, that realize it, that there is this help in our valley, thank you for what you did. Because one of the questions somebody had on my LinkedIn page is, what makes you get up every day, Tommy, and keep moving forward?
You're really going to ask me a question.
Yeah, and keep moving forward. This is a perfect example.
This is not Maddie. I told you this was not, she would do this. She can't stop being a reporter.
Yeah, but it was an injustice that you saw.
It was.
And you couldn't sit back.
It was, and it was and I look at all the people that got involved, and it's probably one of the richest. I'm going to tell you that I don't tell a lot of people this, but I had a loved one who had to go through the experience, and I was sitting in the lobby. And this was a couple years ago. And so I'm in a lobby at Faces, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm here. And I was thinking about how everything kind of comes full circle, and how that loved one would have been treated, and how amazing and wonderful it was. Now, I'm old enough now that no one even knew who I was when I was going through this.
But thank you, Jesus, for that full circle. But Tommy,
it's an amazing thing to watch and watch how it went, and just how amazing it was.
I'm sorry for your situation.
Plugged into services, but it was really cool.
I am just think of your loved one if they would have been told, we don't believe you.
Yeah. Oh, and I
because
listen,
we have changed that message completely.
Yeah, and this
with
whole the whole thing about was it, and it just it was so wrong, and they need, and the point is you can gather all of the evidence in the best way possible, and then work through the story and do it in a way that is so much more nurturing and healing, and anyway, thank you for all your help with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Gosh dang.
Goodness, should we talk about anything lighter here?
Can we?
But these are things that create our valley. The reason why we are the best place in America to raise a child. I started out by saying that Mark D and I really knew that we wanted our families to be raised here. We had opportunities to go on. But we knew this was a beautiful place. And Channel 7 is such a beautiful place. We were doing things back then that weren't done before. Like, it used to be a big thing to do like a satellite shot from somewhere out, even like a Boise State game to be. I got to do a lot of Boise State pre-games.
Bring in the truck and the whole big thing would go up.
And our community loved that stuff. And for us, it was the cutting edge of television. It was a beautiful time. Yeah.
Oh gosh, we only have like 10 more minutes. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
A couple of so you've done a lot of things. You've been like Carolyn, I'm not going to put this lightly. I mean, I don't know if I've ever known anyone quite like you, with energy and the ability for people to follow you and look up to you, and your passion and energy. It's infectious. What advice would you give someone out there? I mean, you've given a little bit, but what's if you had to drop a pearl or some wisdom to someone, what would it be?
First of all, thank you, Tommy, because as I get older, I take in those compliments. Now, it used to be, just brush them off, but now I think, oh goodness, this is great. I guess this is who I am. I'm going to tell you what, I always kind of shoot from the hip. So I'm not a big planner, but here's what I would tell somebody, like, as far as their work. Let's start with that. I truly believe, and I have seen, that if you love what you do, first of all, it's not work. It's not work. You get, and you need to spread that goodwill among your coworkers and your family as well as, I'll be at the station for a couple of hours now. It's not like, I have to go to work. Yeah. I really believe in uplifting that message. But if you work so hard at your craft and your skills, that you'll become indispensable. And you will have earned the right for certain things that you need when it comes to that balance between what you do to get your paycheck and the people you love that you want to take care of too. Be indispensable. Work that hard at it. Love it. There is no reason not to be a student of your industry. There are so many avenues out there for you to learn. We should be continuous learners. When I do my coaching with the young people at Channel 7, the first thing I come in and say is, I'm not here to change you, but I am here to enhance you. And I want you to be a student of the industry. So that's a little pearl for you.
That is powerful.
You like that? It's happened. That. It's the truth.
I love
be
that.
Indispensable.
I got chills when you said that to me, because it's so. One of my mentors in life is a guy named Sam Keim, who's my residency director at University of Arizona. And the very first night we did a shift together in Tucson, Arizona, he had I walked in and I was all, you get out of medical school and you're ready to go set the world on fire. And I'm running in and I sit down and he calmed me down and he says, he's like, hey, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm going to teach you to be a pro. And I remember him saying that and thinking, what does that even mean? He's like, what does it mean for you to be a professional, to be at the top of your trade, and to care for it so much that you're going to go work your butt off, but you're going to be the best at what you do, and you're going to make yourself indispensable. It was like, it's almost the same speech you just gave.
It's the truth.
It's the Sam Keim, but that is wonderful, wonderful wisdom.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is something that, I love being a mother. I'm a grandmother. I love my family. My family does come first, even though I've been able to have this beautiful life outside of the doors of the house, I guess to say. Put your family first. I really used to preach this in Little League, is we had a lot of parents who were high up in their businesses and everything, and I'd say, do not miss your child's ball game. They know when you're in the stands. And it's important. It's a comfort for them. They know that you care enough to come watch them play. But also, you're going to miss that memory that you can never talk about at the dinner table because you weren't there. When little Joey makes a catch in left field, he's put out in left field, and he finally catches the ball, and you missed it. Make family your first priority, and it'll all work out as well.
Let's just drop the mic right there. Let's just stop. Thank you so much. Oh. You're the best. This has been so much fun for me, and I didn't get like halfway down my list.
Tommy, what you're doing here is a beautiful thing, and I'm going to tell you this. I told Matt this when I came up. I really envy what you're doing in a very healthy way. I think being able to let people speak and tell stories and bring those things out of them so that they can are lessons for everyone that's listening and watching right now, but also for the individual. They get to think, okay, yeah, I guess so. Maybe I do have some words of wisdom. So keep doing this, and if you ever need a fill-in, let me know.
You're the best. Love you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, everybody.